Welcome to Living Marvelously with me, Laurie Jonas. This is the show where we unleash the marvelous potential in every woman. Are you ready to dream big and leap into a life you love? Don't let the expectations of others choose for you. Step out of your comfort zone and learn how to create what your life looks like. I'll take you on an inspirational journey, helping you tap into the wellspring of your inner strength, get clear on your life purpose, and unleash the vision you came into the world to share. On Living Marvelously, you will learn about personal development, self-care, and spirituality. And together, we will connect with others, sharing their unique energies, and learn to create a world that allows everyone to shine. Living Marvelously starts now. Hello and good morning. Welcome to Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Laurie Jonas. I'm the creator of livingmarvelously.com. It's a space I built in loving memory of my mom, Marvel. My mission has always been to share what I've learned about creating a life that feels aligned, one filled with joy, with purpose, and freedom. I especially want to support midlife women who, like my mom, may have spent way too long taking care of everyone else and living up to their expectations rather than their own desires. So today we're diving into a kind of a beautiful, a calming concept. It's called the 4 Laws of Spirituality. And I wanted to share this topic because it kind of makes you stop and look at life just a little differently, maybe with a different perspective that might change how you look at your own life. It might change how you see things. It creates a simpler effect to life. It makes you just kind of calm down, makes you kind of just be like, oh, yeah, maybe some of that stuff I'm worried about all the time really doesn't matter. So let's start with the 4 laws themselves. Number 1, the person you meet is the right one. Number 2, what happens is the only thing that can happen. Number 3, every moment when something starts is the right time. And number 4, what's over is over. So, how do you feel when you hear those 4 statements? Do they bring you peace? Or do they just kind of make it twitch a little bit? Because, let's be honest, surrendering control isn't always our strong suit. But just think about it. Like, think about all the things you worry about. Think about all the things you think about that keep you stuck or keep you feeling drained or overwhelmed. What if you could just sort of let it all go and go, oh, that's what I was supposed to learn, or that was supposed to happen because this is what can now happen, or it just is a release. It's like just drop your shoulders and shake your head and just let it all go. So these 4 laws, they come from a Hindu philosophy, and it's rooted in the ideas of samsara, the cycle of life, death, and rebirth, and karma, the law of cause and effect. I did a show on karma a couple weeks back, and if you're interested in that, you should go listen to it because it's a similar thing. It's just kind of how you live life is how it's going to come back to you, and so it's just a simpler way of living. But at the heart of these 4 laws of spirituality is the belief that every soul is part of a divine universal soul. All of our lives are connected. Everything that's happening in your life ripples to somebody else's life. And you can either be a source of pure positive energy or the opposite. So letting things be, letting things sort of play out can give a more calm, a more positive, a more just, like I said, simpler way of living. So to me, being spiritual is about having a meaningful connection to something bigger than ourselves, a higher spirit or energy that helps co-create our lives. Since I started living marvelously, I have been trying to share this principle. I've been learning this principle. I've been teaching this principle. My one of my first certifications was an infinite possibility certification. I was just looking through that this morning, actually. And so just I was pulling out all my certifications and putting them up on a board, but that was one of my first ones. And to this day, I use those principles. And it's all about how our thoughts become things. We're all connected. Use the energy of the universe to help you manifest and create your desires. Because we don't have to do everything ourselves, but we do have to show up. We do have to take steps toward our dreams, and we have to trust in the unfolding. And I know that is so much easier said than done. Patience is important. One trait that I have been working on, and I recently got another certification as a human design reader. So I was doing a deep dive into my own chart, and so many parts of my chart require patience and trust, slowing down and listening, and paying attention to my intuition and letting things come to me, letting myself be a magnet for all that I desire. So, what I do is I just keep playing, I keep loving life, and I keep learning. And one of the things that I learn, and I as I'm reading and learning about things, um, I fell into these four laws of spirituality, and I just think they're so beautiful. So I wanted to share more about them. So let's really explore how they can shift our mindset and support us in midlife and beyond. And gosh, even if you could teach your children these principles at a very young age, you just don't know what that could do for their life. All right. So, law number one, let's go back to that one. The person you meet is the right one. Interesting, right? How many people do we meet every day? Every encounter you have, whether delightful or difficult, is not random. Every person brings a lesson, a reflection, a gift. And then you offer something to them too. So, whether you realize it or not, when you meet somebody, you kind of forget that they're also meeting you. So you're giving them something as well. So ask yourself, who crossed your path today? What might they have been here to teach you? And what did you give in return? So for me, the answer to this might be, what did I do this morning? It's only 10 o'clock in the morning here. I know for some of you it's earlier than that. Um, but I finished a book this morning. And so I met the characters in that book, and they gave me a new perspective on life. It was the book Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow. If any of you have read it, it's a beautiful book. But it's about gaming and how we try to put ourselves into a life that's not our own. So going into instead of living in reality, let's go to a world where we don't have to die, where we can keep trying and keep trying. And it's just a different perspective. So that was meant to come into my path this morning, and it was meant to give me another perspective. So that's not necessarily a person, it's a character, but I haven't run into any other people today besides my husband and my dog. So, but sometimes the right person isn't the one who stays. They may simply spark a thought. They may challenge a belief or make you laugh when you needed it most. And that was their purpose. And that could be watching TV. So maybe it's somebody you see on TV that made you laugh, or somebody going back to human design. It's really interesting. And so my strategy is to wait to respond. And what that means is I'm supposed to be responding to life. So for me, running into people and hearing different perspectives and seeing different things is how I then can go out and do the things that I most desire. So I respond to an idea, I respond to what somebody else says or does. And So for me, this is perfect because the people I'm meeting is the right one and I can respond to them and then I can go out and achieve my own desires. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we're going to give you an example of this law one, okay? The person you meet is the right one. So you're at a coffee shop and you strike up a casual conversation with the person behind you in line. It turns out they work in a field that you've been curious about, and they end up giving you a contact or a bit of advice that helps you move forward. And maybe it's not a big aha moment, but a gentle nudge that sets something in motion. Again, that for me would be something I could respond to then. So, pay attention. That unexpected chat with the grocery store clerk or seatmate on a flight could be more meaningful than you think. What if the universe uses those moments to guide you? I'm not a very good seat. Well, I guess I could go either way, right? I was going to say I'm not a very good seatmate on flights because I don't really like to get into conversations. I like to listen to whatever, watch a movie or listen to whatever on my headphones. But somebody else might be like, thank you very much for not talking to me this whole flight. But you could have been put next to that person for a reason. And something they say could spark something in you. So, just like I said, just pay attention. What if the universe uses those moments to guide you? All right. Law two. What happens is the only thing that can happen. So, I want you to raise your hand if you've ever laid awake at night thinking, I should have said this. Why didn't I do that? Why did I do that? Right? I'm raising my hand. We all do it. But this law reminds us nothing else could have happened because it didn't. Yeah, there's probably, you hear about virtual lives and virtual, um, oh, I can't think of the word right now, but oh, I can't. Okay, doesn't matter. But you think about parallel lives. That's what I was thinking. Where something happens in this life, and what if you had done something differently? How would your life have changed, right? But you're not living in a parallel life. You're living in this one, and whatever happened, it happened. And so we just have to move on. So this law invites us to really release regret because what happened, happened. And what are you learning from it? And from that moment forward, we are given a choice. We can learn from it, we can grow, or we can let it go. Or we can stay stuck in an old story, but we don't have to carry it anymore. It happened. It's time to move on. And it's up to you how you're going to respond to that. Are you going to make it create this real like these ideas in your head where you can't think of anything else and you think about how awful you are and then again going back to my IP training, thoughts become things. If you're going to keep telling yourself these negative things, think more negative things are coming into your life. So whatever happened. How can you positively move on? All right. Another example of this. What happens is the only thing that can happen. You miss a job opportunity you really wanted. At the time, it feels like a huge loss. But a few months later, you land a role that aligns more deeply with your values and brings greater joy and flexibility to your life. You look back and realize the first loss was really a redirection. All right, we have to take a break, but I want you to ponder that during this little break, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up Law 2, and then we'll move on to Laws 3 and 4. So I hope you're seeing here how we make life more difficult than it has to be. And we'll see you in just a minute. All right, welcome back to Transformation Talk Radio. I'm Laurie Jonas of livingmarvelously.com. I'd love for you to go over there and check that out, livingmarvelously.com. I have tons of blog posts, lots of freebies, lots of resources. And again, like I said in the beginning, my whole goal is to just help you align with the life that brings you the most joy, help you take back what you desire, take back and reclaim your own life. So let's continue our conversation with the four laws of spirituality. We were on law two. What happens is the only thing that can happen. And I left you with the example of that you miss a job opportunity you really wanted, and it felt like a huge loss. But a few weeks later, a few months later, you land this role that's even more aligned with your values and what you really wanted. So you look back and realize the first loss was really a redirection. How many times has that happened in your life? You're so upset that you didn't get something that you wanted when what you could have done was be like, okay, I didn't get that. That means there's something better out there for me. Doesn't that just feel lighter? Doesn't that just feel like, "Oh, I don't have to carry that, like I did something wrong or I wasn't good enough or somebody didn't like me. It just wasn't meant to be. It just wasn't what was for you at that time." So stop beating yourself up over what should have happened and trust that what did happen was the doorway to something better, even if you don't see it yet. One of the other things I learned when I took that infinite possibilities training with Mike Dooley was he always talked about when you're, and a lot of people talk about this when you're manifesting, when you have a desire, you say what your desire is, but you're never too specific. Like if you want, let's just say, as an example, you're looking for a partner in your life. I want to meet somebody who makes me feel valued, somebody who makes me laugh, somebody who's makes a lot of money, or something better. Always put in the or something better because you have no idea what's available to you out there. There's infinite possibilities, as the course suggests. So even if you don't see what maybe you've learned by not finding that person, the universe has something better for you out there. All right, law three. Every moment when something starts is the right time. So we often think we're behind. We should have started that project earlier, figured out our purpose by now, or already be living our dream life. But what if the right time is always now? Whatever is arriving in your life, a new relationship, an idea, an opportunity, it's not late. You're not late. It is showing up now, and you're finally ready to receive it. This is your time. This one really, really, really hit home for me because I had decided to take a little break from my business, just thinking, you know what, I'm going to slow down a little bit. I'm not going to push out so much content, and I'm going to think about, how I really want to portray my business and what I want to do with it and all those kinds of things. So I was taking a break and I had a couple of vacations planned. And then during this break, my dad passed away. So it was a break that I needed, and I was able to be there for my family and for him in his last few days of life. And then, of course, to plan the funeral and get all that organized. So the break it happened at the right time. It started at the right time. And now I'm still in this time of, still trying to figure out what my next project's going to be. And so I'm trusting that when something starts, it's going to be the right time. So here's another example. You finally start that passion project or blog, or you go back to school in your 50s. You might feel late, but then you connect with others who are inspired by your story and realize that the timing was actually perfect because you were emotionally and spiritually ready. I tell people all the time in my blogs and when I'm talking to people who are in their 50s, 60s, even their 40s, we have so much wisdom built up in us. We have so much to share. I know the younger generation thinks that they're light years ahead of us, but they're not. We have all this lived wisdom that we can go back and be like, yep, that happened to me and this is what I learned from it. There is so much that we can share with the younger generations. And there's no expiration date on your dreams. That urge you feel now, that's your soul saying it's time. It's time. It's time to go out and achieve your desires. All right. Law 4. What's over is over. That one can be tough. So, whether it's a job, a friendship, a stage of parenting, or even an identity we've held on for a long time, it can be really hard to let go. But here's the truth: when something ends, it creates space for something else to begin. And if we're living, then we still have a purpose. The ending isn't the story, it's just part of the story. So, what are you ready to release today? Here's a real life example of that. I work for a friend who runs a company, and she has a client who is very difficult to work with. And it really stresses her out. And although this client brings in a substantial amount of money for the business, she has to decide if it's worth it. Is my stress that I bring to my family and the rest of the business worth it for that money? And I think where I would give her advice on this is what's over is over. We have to let go of those things that aren't bringing value to our lives and trust that it's going to be replaced with something even better. Or here's another example. A long friendship fades away. At first you grieve the loss, but in that space, you grow in new ways and you make room for people who align more with who you are now, not who you used to be. So it's about being open to something different, open to something new, open to a different perspective. So really honor what was. In the case of who I work with, she gained so much value, so much knowledge, so much we learned different systems we can use, but we can't live in that stress. So you're meant to keep evolving. And sometimes that means letting go of what no longer serves you. That's really hard to really recognize. So sometimes if you're thinking about how do I know what no longer serves me, talk to somebody who you trust. Maybe it's your partner, a child. My daughter would be somebody I could do this with. And just ask them, where do you feel like I'm stressed out in life? Where do you feel like I'm giving too much of myself and not getting any, something back in return? And then think about it. What is no longer serving you? Can that be over so that you open yourself up for something greater? All right. So let's talk about so I want to tie these laws to other spiritual philosophies really quick. So in Buddhism, there's a concept of anicca or impermanence. So everything changes, and clinging to what's gone is what creates suffering. So that aligns so well with the idea that what's over is over. Christianity reminds us that to everything there is a season, and to trust in God's plan, that divine timing. It's reflected in the third law. When something starts, that's the right time. I just did a show last 2 weeks ago about the Tao and the way. And that teaches us to flow with the way and stop resisting life's natural current. That idea runs through all four laws. So there's everyday practices of the four laws, and how can you use these in real life? So here's a few simple ways to start. When someone annoys or frustrates you, pause and ask, what are they reflecting back to me? There's often gold in that irritation. What am I seeing in them that I may be doing in my own life? The next time you catch yourself ruminating over a past event, gently say, it happened exactly as it needed to. I'm going to release it now. If you're feeling stuck or behind in life, try this affirmation. Everything is unfolding at the perfect time for me. And when something ends, a job, a friendship, a season of life, light a candle, take a walk and honor it. You can say, thank you for what you gave me. I'm ready for what's next. All right, if you can embrace these four laws of spirituality, you can release a whole lot of stress and expectation. You don't have to force life. You just have to show up with love, take small steps, and stay open. So I invite you to connect with your higher spirit, whether through meditation, writing, prayer, or simply sitting in silence. Ask, what am I ready to let go of? Or what joy am I ready to allow in? Trust the people who show up, trust the timing, trust the ending, and above all, trust the process. Thanks for joining me today. If this episode spoke to you, I'd love for you to share it with someone else who needs a little peace and perspective. Sending you lots of love, and keep living marvelously. Thank you for listening to Living Marvelously with me, your host, Laurie Jonas. Tune in next time to unleash the marvelous potential in every woman, every second and fourth Thursday at 8 a.m. Pacific on TransformationTalkRadio.com as I help you choose a life that you are passionate about. Learn to embrace your unique self, dream big, and leap into what you choose to have your marvelous life look like. Together we create a world that allows everyone to shine. For more information, visit livingmarvelously.com. That's livingmarvelously.com. See you next time on Living Marvelously.